are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, man? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 233 of the College Loop Podcast. I am Dylan Larck. I will take on Twitter, talk to you about the latest Auburn recruiting news because, let's get a little interaction from the crowd. Raise your hand if your team is currently in the top 5 of the recruiting rankings on 24/7 Sports and across the board, really, I think. I think On3 has them at 8. I could be wrong about that, but we only go with the highest ranked rankings here. Auburn's number 5, top 5 per 24/7, number 5 overall, and by a pretty fair margin, and pretty far margin between the 4 and 5 spots as well. Auburn, after picking up 2 more 4 stars for class of 2025, adding to a awesome class and adding 2 top end players in the state of Alabama. One of those being Derek Smith, wide receiver out of Southside, 6'1", 185 pounds, number 2 wide receiver in his class, or I guess number 2 athlete, because I believe he is staying as an athlete. So Auburn is recruiting him as a wide receiver, is what he is going with. So number 2 athlete in the class. There we go. Let me correct myself real quick there. But Auburn strictly was recruiting him for the receiver position. He can play safety, and I saw some highlights of him. He seemed to tackle really well. Very athletic dude. I saw a lot of highlights of him getting ready for the show, and I saw a lot of times where he got thrown a screen pass, and when it should have been like a 3-yard loss, he turned around into like a 70-yard touchdown, 60-yard touchdown, however long it was. But it seems that Auburn really came after him as a wide receiver, a position that he really wanted to play, and pulled the trigger, got him, flipped him from Alabama, and of course adding to another list of wide receivers that have been flipped from Alabama. And this is something that people were talking about for a little bit. I know going into Big Cat Weekend, there were a lot of crystal balls thrown around for Derek Smith to flip to Auburn. And there you go. You got it right after Big Cat Weekend. So you didn't get him during Big Cat, but you got him the day afterwards. Some people say, it's Big Cat week, not Big Cat weekend, So with that, also adding to this outstanding list of recruits that Auburn is adding up for the class 2025, Anquan Fegans has finally announced where he will be committing to. And of course, that's the Auburn Tigers, the number 3 safety in the class of 2025, number 9 overall prospect instead of Alabama. Overall, Auburn picked up 2 quality players. Anquan Fegans, the guy we talked about a few times, a guy who has a lot of talent. I think I watched a lot of highlights of him as well. Played deep safety a lot, but he does have a tendency to be a great ball hawking safety in the backfield. Also, he has a lot of talent when it comes to returning kicks and punts as well. So it's adding more and more athletic ability in the backfield for the Auburn Tigers, and Charles Kelly absolutely recruiting his tail off in the defensive back room. And just kind of going through the class 2025, you got I think a few 3 stars, but you got, let me go and do the count here. 13 4 stars, you got 7 3 stars, and of course you have a 5-star in John Allen McGuire. But 24/7 doesn't count kickers and punters because apparently 24/7 don't think that position's that important. But 5 stars are going to be coming Auburn's way very, very soon. Malik Autry is working his way up to that 5-star ranking. He already has the composite score, but you got to get the other score up so that they can count it there as well. Jared Smith, a guy who I think Auburn is is the heavy favorite to land whenever he commits on August 3rd. That is on Saturday. So that'll hopefully be something we get to, talk about in a happy manner on the Sunday live stream for this week. But if Auburn can land Jared Smith, they don't go up any higher than 5 in the 24/7 rankings unless something were to happen with LSU, Georgia, Alabama, or Ohio State's class in that time period. But the fact that, just a couple weeks ago, or even not even that, last week, Auburn was going into what many consider to be a slump. we saw Auburn kind of drop a lot. Auburn's been in the top 5 before in this recruiting class, but a couple of decommits came around, and Auburn kind of took the back end of it, picked up some guys, but it got as high as I think maybe 15, maybe 30. I think 15 was about where Auburn was at. And then Big Cat Weekend came around, and you saw an immediate change. You saw Auburn immediately jump back up into that top 5 spot. And then you saw the class 2026 on the other side of that pick up 3 guys, 3 4-stars, high ranked 4-stars, bring Auburn to the number 1 class in class 2026. Overall, this has been a very successful Big Cat. And I think that's one that a lot of Auburn fans are going to be talking about for a long time. Not because you got guys like Perry Thompson from class 2024 who just announced their commitment right then and there, but the aftershocks of this Big Cat weekend are going to be something special to talk about throughout the remainder of this recruiting cycle. And of course, Auburn football is only 32 days away as we're talking right now. And just overall, I mean, it is, again, it's a broken record thing to talk about this every single day that it happens. But it is so fun to watch Auburn recruiting. And I'm going to pull up the list. I updated the list that we talked about yesterday on the live stream, or Sunday on the live stream. This is the updated list of the top 10 recruits in the state of Alabama. As you can see, there's a lot of orange on that list, a lot of orange logos. Of course, Naeem Offord, the 5-star corner, and Zion Grady, the 4-star edge rusher, number 1, number 6, respectively, in the state of Alabama, are committed to Ohio State. But 2 through 5 and 7 through 10 are either crystal balled or committed to the Auburn Tigers. Jared Smith is the guy that Auburn is waiting on right now on Saturday. But Malik Autry, Jacayla Falk, Eric Winters, and the guys talk about Derek Smith, Jordan Crawford, Anquan Fegans, and of course Antonio Coleman have all committed to the Auburn Tigers. And I mean, as you can see, there's not a single ounce of crimson on that list. And of course, the recruiting cycle is nowhere near done. No one knows what's going to happen. But as it stands right now, Auburn is on pace to do something very special with this class. And I think 5 is a great spot for them to end up at the end of this recruiting cycle. 5 is like where I saw Auburn landing. But, there's rumblings in the air. Rumors are always happening. There are crystal balls getting thrown around for Tyler Lockhart to come back to the Auburn Tigers, another high 4-star linebacker. And then kind of going into the quarterback realm, Auburn's not picked up a quarterback yet. But, the Twitter sphere is crazy. And I don't know how much to actually trust the Twitter sphere when it comes to recruits. But Deuce Knight was a name that got thrown around a lot during I think yesterday was like the big day for it. Of course, Deuce Knight, 4-star quarterback out of Georgia, is currently the number 1 prospect for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish out of Mississippi. There we go. The number 5 quarterback in his class, number 2 in the state of Mississippi. And we thought at first that Auburn, they needed the quarterback to start attracting the wide receivers, but you got Derek Smith, and you got some other guys that you're really looking forward to getting in this recruiting class as well. And I mean, let's looking at this class, it is just so loaded at so many different positions. And you got linebackers, you got tight ends, you got multiple corners, you got multiple offensive linemen, multiple defensive linemen, just multiple safeties. Auburn is recruiting depth right now. This is depth to develop into stars later on. And just seeing Auburn have 21 commits by this time right now is crazy. I don't think Auburn had this many commits this time around in 2024. I think a lot of the guys kind of filed in a lot later, but it is outstanding to watch happen. And I remember that first recruiting class with Hugh Freeze, class 2023, and just how crazy that signing day was, where you had like 3 or 4 flips, and then you got to 2024 and you're flipping guys before signing day, and now you're getting guys to commit early to this class. And of course, you got a couple flips. I know Derek Smith is a flip, Antonio Coleman is a flip, and I think that could be Alvin Henderson's a flip. There we go. I always forget Alvin Henderson's a flip because in my brain he was always an Auburn commit to me. But overall, I mean, you got guys who have been commits for a long time, and you worry about how heavily Ohio State and USC and Texas and Florida are recruiting Malik Autry, but a lot of people forget that Malik Autry was one of the first commits of this class in the sense that he committed in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, and he was just so heavily for what Auburn has done is doing, and it might have been early 2023, late 2022, somewhere in that little span is where Malik Autry committed. And just seeing this recruiting class kind of build up the way it is, and again, it's just so fun. Number 5 overall in the class of 2025, which, top 5 in the country is good for top 4 in the SEC, because that's always going to be how it is in this conference. But you're right behind LSU and Georgia and Alabama, and of course Ohio State's having a heck of a recruiting class right now. I don't think there's a world where Auburn gets to where Ohio State is right now, because I think Ohio State is building up to what could be a historic class. But you're ahead of teams like Tennessee, Notre Dame, A&M, Oklahoma, Miami, Oregon, Clemson, Michigan, Texas. I was about to say Missouri, but Missouri's not that heavily recruiting yet. Teams like I'm reading through it, and I just realized that Rutgers is in the top 25. That's something I did not expect to see today. I didn't even know that Rutgers recruited that well. That's crazy. Good. You go, birthplace of college football. You do you. But you're seeing the teams that Auburn is ahead of, and teams that Auburn was behind in terms of being on pace. Auburn was kind of slow to get there. You hit a big old bump in the road the size of a potato, which is smaller than that analogy doesn't really work in this scenario. But you hit a potato-sized pothole and kind of threw you for a loop, and then in walks you free to change it up and fix what the last guy broke. So again, I don't know. I think 1, and I think 5 is about where I expect this team to finish at. And of course, the recruiting cycle is nowhere close to being over. The important factor right now for Auburn is to show it on the field. Show what you are preaching. If Auburn can go 8-4, you can expect a lot more of these guys to start committing to Auburn, as well as seeing guys who are, signing with Auburn as well. And, Auburn is, as we currently stand, because today is Tuesday, so we're going to be doing the way too early season preview series, where currently Auburn stands at, I believe, I'm trying to get to my notes. I am so sorry if you can hear the flipping of the pages because I'm just trying to get back to my notes. But Auburn currently stands at let's see, 2, 3, 4, 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, 5-3. From my predictions going into the Vanderbilt game, which we'll be talking about in just a little bit, because that game has to be talked about, as well as the next week's, which is ULM, which will be a very boring episode. Hopefully more news hits in that time period, so I don't have to spend an entire show talking about ULM. But just kind of talking about Auburn as a whole right now in recruiting. I think like this time 2 years ago, we were not in a panic, but we were a little worried about the state of where Auburn was recruiting at. Just 2 years ago today in class 2023, Auburn finished at around 20. Like 19 is where Auburn finished, with just a lot of guys that flipped. Last year came around, Auburn finished at 8, and then you're up to 5 earlier than you were last year. And then, of course, you're looking at the future. 2026 is already number 1. I think they're hearing some rumbles about Auburn getting a guy in 2027 already, which is already just wild in and of itself. But you see it happening real time. You're watching the change, the shift happen. And again, this is just a broken record thing. We talk about this. This is an everyday episode now. Every episode is about how awesome Auburn's recruiting right now. And I don't think it can't be talked about enough, but huge ups to Auburn for, flipping another guy from Alabama. You got a wide receiver in this class, which is one of the positions that you were really hoping to grab sooner rather than later. Still looking at the quarterback, but you picked up another high-profile safety in this class. And again, I'll show the graphic one more time. Absolutely killing it in the state of Alabama. 7 out of the top 10 recruits to Alabama have already committed to the Auburn Tigers, with 1 potentially on the way to make it 8. 80% of the top 10 players in the state of Alabama by Sunday could be committed to the Auburn Tigers, which is absolutely awesome. But because for this little recruiting update, we got more commits coming later on in this recruiting cycle. And of course, don't forget, we are only 32 days away from Auburn football. I've already got my tickets for the season opener. I'll be there. I'll be hanging out, watching Auburn, massacre Alabama A&M. But you can't miss a night game at Jordan Hare in the first game of the season. But we'll go a little ad break, come back. I'll let y'all know that y'all can like, comment, and subscribe on the video in the channel. And then we're going to wrap up the show talking about what Auburn has to do to beat the Vanderbilt Commodores at home this season. So we'll be right back.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
And of course, those are both at thewarreport.com. Go to the shop. First page is a college loop hat, which I am wearing right now, which I just badly flipped. And then, of course, the college loop Feelin' Loopy t-shirt is also on the second page. Those are each $25. And again, the most comfortable hat you ever wear, most comfortable shirt you're ever going to wear in your entire life, 100% guaranteed. 10 out of 10 doctors agree. Sources say that you can't be sad wearing the Feelin' Loopy t-shirt and the college loop hat combined. They've given it to several Auburn fans, and they've all seen, ever since the college loop merch came out, Auburn's recruiting has just gone up. Sources say that the more merch that gets sold, the higher up Auburn goes in the recruiting rankings. I can't lie with how trends look. But with that, don't forget, if you're liking the show, like, comment, subscribe. Always leave your predictions. Where do you think Auburn football is going to finish up in the class 2025? Do you think Auburn keeps the number one class 2026? And of course, as we get into the next discussion, what do you think Auburn's record is going to be this season as we are getting ready for the Vanderbilt game this week? But of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe again. Cannot overstate that enough. I know y'all probably get annoyed with that, but you cannot overstate it enough. And don't forget to check out the War Report gaming channel as well, which, again, this Saturday, will be the week 2 of the Kennesaw State franchise. It'll be a shorter video this time around, I promise. Won't be, I think it was like a 40-minute, like an hour long, maybe. I could be wrong. I edited it and everything, and I cannot tell you how long I edited the video to be. But it is a great video because, we scored a touchdown against Georgia. It's about as far as it got. I would not spoil the score, but just know that we scored. Kennesaw State scored against Georgia. Let it be known. But yeah, go check that out. Probably leave it linked at the end of the video. So you can just go from this episode to that episode, the first episode of that Dynasty franchise over on the Warport Gaming channel. And also check out Dustin's Road to Glory franchise as well, where he is trying to lead Auburn to glory himself. But as we move on to the last little discussion of today's episode, don't forget, check out the Olympics today, actually. And if you're watching this and it is currently 8:48, 8:58, something around that time, 11:15, the all-around women's finals will be on for the women's gymnastics, and you'll get to see a familiar face in Suni Lee compete for another medal. Cannot overstate how awesome it is for Auburn to have a outstanding athlete like Suni Lee representing Auburn at the Olympics. Add another medal, maybe get some bronze headed to Auburn to make a nice little statue for the national champions. Both her and Darren Goborn would be the two biggest queens to come from Auburn gymnastics in the past few years. And and the program is looking awesome over there under Jeff Graba. But as we go on to the last little discussion of today's episode, the way too early season preview series for the Vanderbilt Commodores. This game will be taking place again on November 2nd in beautiful Jordan-Hare Stadium. Still debating whether or not I want to go to this game or not. Auburn last year, of course, won against Vanderbilt in the Auburn North Campus 31-15, which resorted one of the worst pick sixes I've ever seen in my entire life, courtesy of Auburn last year, which was just absolutely abysmal. I will never forget my facial expressions watching that play. But Auburn took care of business. I don't see Auburn struggling in this game. Vanderbilt is projected by all accounts to be last in the SEC. I think that the Clark Lee experiment, while it did have some fun and awesome moments, such as in 2022 when they finished 5-7, I just don't think that there's enough talent for Vanderbilt right now to really reconcile another 4+ win season. I mean, I could see Vanderbilt winning, I think, about 2 games. Maybe 3. I'll give them 3: Georgia State, Alcorn State, and Ball State. And of course, you can't forget the fact that, they have instances where they do give teams issues. But overall, I mean, I just don't think this team is very good. They lost their basically their entire wide receiver core that just went all across the country. I know Will Shepherd, I think, went into I must say the Pac-12, but I think he's now Big Ten. I can't remember exactly where he transferred off to. I know McGowan, I think, is now at Georgia, and Humphreys, I believe, is also at Georgia. I think did they lose 2 guys to Georgia? Am I mistaken in thinking that? Because they were absolutely awesome wide receivers that, just being at Vanderbilt does not really give you the credit you deserve. And of course, they lost all 3 of their quarterbacks, I believe, to the portal. They're just a tough team to read. And of course, everyone knows the quarterback for Vanderbilt. If you're an Auburn fan, you definitely know who this guy is. It's Diego Pavia, the former New Mexico State quarterback who gave Auburn all kinds of fits last year in New Mexico State to win over the Auburn Tigers. But honestly, could be safe to say that he has had a regression of talent around him. Going from New Mexico State to Vanderbilt. That's an issue. I just don't think that and the thing is, I love supporting Vanderbilt football. I love whenever Vanderbilt football can, win some kind of games, but I just don't think it's going to happen this year. And that's, again, I've done my hot seat rankings before, and, Sam Pittman is 1, Billy Napier's 2. And I think I had Clark Lee at 3 or 4, kind of rearranged with Shane Beamer. I just don't think that another 2-win season will be enough to save his job, even a 3-win season. They're just hard to watch, man. They did bring back their leading tackler from last year and Langston Patterson, and their third guy and CJ Taylor, a ball hawking safety. But it's tough for me to look at a team that's bringing back 15 starters and think that they're going to regress. And I would like it if Vanderbilt offered a little bit of a challenge. Vanderbilt being good at football is something that I look back at very fondly. I remember the James Franklin years where Vanderbilt was like a couple games away from being, an SEC. I think they're probably a season away from being competitive in the SEC East as trying to get the title. But you saw multiple 8-win seasons under James Franklin. And it sucks to watch just the fall from grace that was what happened after that. Trace McSorley went on to Penn State and won games with Saquon Barkley. But Clark Lee is here, and I don't think it's going to be for very long. And this is going to be a very quick, way too early season preview versus Vanderbilt, because the next 2 will be, unfortunately, because it's just like another free 2 wins in a sense. I think Auburn wins. I think it's around the same score as last year. Give me Auburn 30-13 over Vanderbilt, and you get the win over your North Campus, which is huge. But overall, I just don't think Vanderbilt has the star power to even make a dent in their SEC schedule, which again sucks. I think a lot of people are very fond of Vanderbilt. Dandy Vandy, the lovable loser. The school that jocks up the entire athletic of overall GPA of the SEC, but they just outside of baseball, it's hard for Vanderbilt to really make up ground in the other sports. But that is it for this time of the College Loop podcast. Of course, I'm Dylan Ableton on Twitter. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below after you like and subscribe. What are your predictions for Auburn versus Vanderbilt? What are your predictions for Auburn football season this year? Leave your hot takes for the season. Do you think Peyton Thorne's going to throw for 4,000 yards? Why or why not? And do you think Jarquez Hunter's going to pass for 3 or more touchdowns? Just make it weird. Make it your hottest hot takes you can possibly think of. And of course, while you're doing that, don't forget to go check out the socials in the description below. You got my Twitter at the Tank, got my I don't think I have my Instagram down there, but my YouTube channel, which I'm going to try to start posting on more often, doing more College Football 25 content whenever I had the time to record those. I would love to post a lot more of that content because I love that game. I know it has some issues. Every game has issues, but the fact that it's here, I love it to death. I will play it nonstop until I am good at it, which may be until the next game comes out. Hopefully not in 11 years, but that's just how things roll here. But of course, don't forget to check us out on socials at the College Loop. That's literally on every single platform: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. That was a whole bunch of word jumble. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, the works. All those at the College Loop, and of course, you have us on Spotify as well. And of course, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music, all of the College Loop as well. And don't forget to check us out right here on YouTube. Which like, comment, subscribe. Can't overstate that enough, as I said earlier. And don't forget to check out the merch as well. Warport Gaming. A lot of just throwing a lot of stuff at you for go check out. You got a lot of stuff to go check out over there. The Warport Podcast Network is just fuming with fuming. I don't think that's the right word, but just a bulk load of great content coming from the podcast network over here. But of course, with all that being said, thanks for watching this stuff of the College Loop podcast. And as always, War Eagle.